The thing is, game is not a purely technical endeavor. It has a technical side, it also has a personal and emotional side. And the fact of the matter is, having a roadmap helps you tremendously with that personal and emotional side, maybe even more so than with the technical side. I had a boot camp this last weekend. It was a very smart guy who coincidentally got very good results on program. And he kept using this term explaining the boot camp. He called it agentic state, meaning that me as an agent telling him what to do gave him permission and state to go ahead and do something. The idea was that there were a lot of things that he would have been afraid to do on his own, but with me telling him to do it, commanding him to do it, and giving him permission to do it, he was suddenly allowed and open to do it. And he was able to do it with a lot of emotional freedom and was able to be successful through that process. And this is actually what happened to me very early on in game. The first things that I read on pickup forums when I was like 18 years old was a lot of bad advice. But in spite of it being bad advice, it helped me massively, because up until age 18, what I had done was take no action. I'd seen a girl, not approached her. Seen a girl, wanted to approach her, and not had a game plan in my head. I wanted to approach these girls, but I would sort of visualize it happening, and I couldn't see it going down. I couldn't envision step by step what would happen, and so my brain said, oh no, this is a waste of time. This can't work. This will never work out. So I didn't do anything. Once I had a roadmap, even though it was a bad one, I could envision it happening, so I could take action. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you kind of an example of this. This is a set from my hot seat, and in this particular example, I'm about to approach a guy with a girl, and they really seem to like each other. I'm not quite sure at this time how to approach it. And what you're gonna see is me having what looks like approach anxiety. It's not actually approach anxiety. I'm not actually nervous to approach so much as I'm looking at the situation and my brain is searching for solutions. And I have no roadmap of how to solve it. I have no vision of how to solve it. And what you'll see is me hesitate and hesitate, but then as soon as I come up with something that plausibly might work, now I'm able to spring into action. And actually the roadmap I have only gets me through the first like 10 seconds, but it's enough to get me started, and my brain starts functioning from there, and I end up getting a pretty good result.
Just like saying, hey, leave my wife alone.
Let me concentrate, let me figure out how to do this. Hi guys, how do you guys know my friend? How do you guys know my friend?
Oh, hi.
You know, you have like the most innocent look and then the most like feisty, devious mannerisms. I love it. Alright, 21? 21, we have to go get a drink. Let's go.
Get a drink?
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
down.
do it.
Don't fucking touch me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alright, whatever.
You can go with it if you want. Do whatever you want.
What I needed here was just something to give me a push. I needed to believe it was possible. I needed to have a vision that I could follow. And of course you're adjusting that vision. Everything in game, everything in life is a series of taking action and making adjustments. So what is the right way to use a roadmap and a game plan? Well, here's what I would suggest. First and foremost, understand that game is personal and emotional more than it's technical. So at any time, if your roadmap is getting in the way of you having fun, is getting in the way of you expressing your personality, is getting in the way of your own inner game and self-belief, drop the technical stuff, get the soul back, get the feeling and emotional part of the game back, and only then layer the technique back on. So there are three main reasons why, if you're not careful, having a roadmap can kind of mess you up. The first one is perfectionism. A lot of guys, they think that in order to have a roadmap, they need to have that perfect roadmap. They need to know everything before they get started. This is a little like waiting for all the lights to be green before you go on a journey. You'd probably never leave your driveway. And a lot of guys use this as an excuse. They sit in front of their computer forever and ever and ever, trying to have every little bit of theory, have the answer to every shit test, know every possible way to get every girl home before they even say hi to anyone. And obviously, that's a terrible way to go. Second, less extreme thing that can happen is that you become a little bit, not perfectionist in terms that holds you back, but you become too rigid in your approach. Because you have a game plan, because you know that first A is supposed to happen, then B, then C. Let's say that at some point there's an interruption, girl gets distracted, leaves with her social circle, like, oh shit, my structure got ruined, where do I go from there? And so if you assume that you need this exact structure, well, as soon as that structure isn't working, or as soon as things go any differently, now you're kind of lost. Lastly, if you get very caught up in structure, and this is something that happened to me when I was doing a very canned routine-based game, you can start to attribute your success to the routines and to the structure rather than to yourself. So instead of thinking, I am enough, or I am a cool person, you start thinking, as long as I have enough routines, I can pick her up. And this leads to really, really bad inner game. It leads to putting the girl on a pedestal, being very try-hard, and it leads to guys that can get a girl but have a really hard time having a relationship. Because imagine, if you're attributing all your success to a routine, 6 months into the relationship, you would think that you have to wake up like half an hour before your girlfriend and write out a bunch of routines to deliver to her that day, because otherwise, where's it coming from? Lastly, don't worry about having the perfect roadmap. Start with any decent roadmap and get out in the field. And then what'll happen is you'll find a sticking point using that game plan. When you find that sticking point, that's the time to start trying new things, start looking back for different resources, etc. But remember that game is played in the field, game is based on action, and game comes from your inner state more than from your outer technique. So take all this roadmap stuff, use it. It's going to be massively helpful, especially if you're already at an intermediate level, getting to an advanced level, but never let roadmap and technique be more important than conveying your own unique personality and believing in your